Would you like to lose 20 pounds in 10 weeks without having to starve yourself, without having to go on any fatty diet, without any jabs or pills, without having to rely on cardio, not having to count calories, in fact not having to count or measure anything, in a sustainable way that's going to last the rest of your life? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, because I have just achieved that, and along the way, I'm going to dispel some common myths. I'm Eddie, and this is Straight Talk. Before I get started, some caveats. First of all, I'm an expert in nothing. I'm not a qualified nutritionist. I'm not a qualified personal trainer. What I am is quite well read. I like to research things as thoroughly as I can. I'm determined, I'm motivated, and I'm willing to experiment. I am not claiming in this video that I've stumbled across something that nobody else has ever thought of. Seriously, this is very simple. It's based basically on common sense. If this plan or structure resembles any sort of diet plan out there, then I'm unaware, and it's by complete coincidence. I've built this particular plan intuitively, and I've stuck with it. It's worked, and the results, I think, speak for themselves. Why did I do this? Well, it's fair to say that even since in childhood, when I was a kid, I love me grub. I have a massive appetite. When I was growing up, every meal I had, I'd have it with 5 slices of bread. On top of that, I've got a sweet tooth. I love anything and everything, particularly things that are bad for you. Crisps and biscuits and sweets and cakes and bread and rice and just Greg's pasties, the lot. I just love it. And as I've got into my 50s, I'm 59 next month, 60 next year. I cannot believe it. And at 5'9", just 10 or 11 weeks ago, I was just over 208 pounds. That's just shy of 15 stone. I have never been anywhere near that weight in all of my life. On top of that, I had one of those well-manned checkups at my local GPs, which you get to over 55, I think it is. And I was at risk of being pre-diabetic. Me blood pressure was higher than it should be, not dangerously high, but too high, and I was of increased risk of a heart attack. Pretty sobering news when you hear that, and all down to the food and health style choices that I'd been making. Basically, I've been digging my own grave with me knife and fork, and I had to stop. How did I look physically carrying all that weight? Well, I looked heavy and sluggish. I had a big belly, but a bloated face, a jowly neck, and as well I was feeling sluggish, low energy. I was having these energy spikes throughout the day. I looked tired. Obviously my blood pressure was up, and I was easily out of breath just walking up the mildest of inclines. And of course, on top of that, all of that starts to affect your confidence. So I have tried to lose weight before on countless occasions, as this weight has crept up on me during my 50s, particularly the last 3 years. And on top of that, about 12 years ago, I've had arthroscopies on both knees, which is keyhole surgery into the knee to tidy up the cartilage, the medial meniscus. And then about 4.5 years ago, my right knee set a bit of a setback when I was walking into Newcastle. It kind of collapsed on us, really. And it would appear that probably in the next 2 or 3 years, I'm probably heading for a knee replacement. So all of that has affected my lifestyle, the amount of cardio I can do, because I've had a life of football and squash and running and cycling and mountaineering, and it's hit a lot of that. I can't do most of that now. I can't even play walking football, which I tried 2 years ago, because it was just too much pain on my right knee. And it all come to a head, I think, when I finally decided to do something about it was about the 19th, 20th of June. I was recording a video in Gateshead Town Centre, and I saw myself when I was editing my video, putting it together, and I seen how heavy and big and how big my belly looked and my face, and it was really quite a shock. I was embarrassed. So when I put the video together, I actually zoomed in so to cut my belly out to try and minimise the look of how unhealthy I looked. And it was at that point, or a few days later, I drew the line in the sand. I'd come to that realization that I can't live the rest of my life with this sort of lifestyle, eating all this crap. I'd think nothing of going to Tesco's nearly every day and getting 2 bags of sweets. I'll have a packet of biscuits with a cup of tea. And as you get older, you just can't sustain that sort of unhealthy eating. So it had to stop. So I devised my plan, some guiding principles, if you like. And in no particular order, one of those was to eat much more protein, because protein builds muscle density and strength, but also muscle is the body's fat burning engine, even when you're resting. Because of that, one of the other guiding principles was that I needed to go to the gym more regularly and really get stuck into the weight training, because I was losing strength quite rapidly through my 50s. So that's what I've done for the past 10 weeks. I've been to the gym 4-5 times a week, building lean muscle strength and density to help burn that excess fat on my body. Another guiding principle was to cut back on the carbs. Eat less bread. I haven't bought a loaf of bread for 11 or 12 weeks now. I've eliminated, I haven't had any white rice, and avoid any processed carbs. Too many carbs spike your blood sugar, leading to crashes, those energy spikes. It can increase your hunger and overeating. You go in this doom loop of poor food choices. And excess carbs in your body are easily stored as fat if they're not burned off. Also as well, I wanted to eat much more fruit and vegetable, because it's high in fibre, which fills you up and it keeps you satisfied. It also supports your gut health and your digestion. I just want to say, while I'm talking about me guiding principles, I want to give an exercise reality check. Exercise alone is really insufficient and unreliable in weight loss, because it burns fewer calories than people think. For example, an hour of heavy cardio, you might only burn 400 or 500 calories, and that's easily wiped out with a poor meal choice or a sugary snack. So it becomes a bit of a false economy. It's far easier to control calories by eating smarter than trying to outrun or outcycle a poor diet. That said, exercise is absolutely crucial. Everybody should exercise for a whole boatload of reasons: for strength, for fitness, for energy, for your long-term health and a healthy heart. It's just not a very efficient primary means of losing weight. Another really important guiding principle was to ditch the junk, to pretty much eliminate the ultra-processed foods, the sweets, the crisps, the biscuits, the cakes, but also, the high carb processed meals, ultra-processed foods, and cutting these out, I believe, is one of the fastest ways to improve your health and to control your weight. So my mindset was, this isn't a short-term diet, but a long-term lifestyle change. The plan. Well, first of all, I didn't want to be involved in forensic calorie counting and weighing everything I eat to make sure I had a particular amount of food, because everybody's body's different and we react differently to different amounts of foods. So I didn't want to be anal in how I went about this. So no measuring. I wasn't inputting any data into any apps. It was all intuitive. I just listened to my body and adjusted my meals based on, my weekly weight loss. So it was a balanced approach. I didn't punish myself either. If I went into town, I wasn't afraid to have a dirty burger from the van, or have a couple of pints, or a chicken wrap, or even a piece of cake. As long as I kept that to pretty much a minimum, I wasn't going to beat myself up, as long as most of the time I was eating healthily. So the key was moderation in that. So the daily practice was, meals were based around high protein, low carbs and more veg, regular weight training, staying hydrated and getting plenty rest. I should add that there is a little bit of cardio in my life, but it's not the driving principle to try and lose weight. There's cardio in my life because it's just good for you. I walk I don't know, 12 to 15,000 steps a day just by taking me 2 collies out for a walk. So that's good for you in itself. But also I've got a bike. I don't own a car anymore. I haven't for about 5 years now. A lifestyle choice I've made to get myself out and me walking or cycling more often. So I'd occasionally cycle into town or into Newcastle to do some bits and bobs because I enjoy it and it's good for you. Before I get on to the results and how it all makes me feel and look, I want to talk about the struggles I had in that period of time, those 10 weeks, because I actually set myself the target of losing 20 pounds in 3 months, but I've actually done it in 10 weeks. And I have to be honest, the cravings for sugar are still there, not as much as it was. I would readily admit that I'm addicted to sugar. Sugar is an addiction, so it's really hard to shake that off. So from time to time, I do have that urge and that craving for sugar, which I'm hoping over time is going to more or less disappear. Some days are just less motivated. I might have watched the match in the pub and had a couple of pints, and the following day just didn't really feel like going to the gym, and that's absolutely fine as long as it wasn't a habit. But also as well, when you're actually measuring your weight, and I didn't weigh myself every single day, but most days. And there were periods during that 10 weeks where for a few days I might have been stuck on a particular weight, and it's easy to get downhearted. And occasionally I might have been stuck on a plateau, then went up a pound or two for reasons I can't explain scientifically, obviously. But again, I didn't get downhearted on that. I was just determined to turn up every day with me plan, and I found that after that little plateau, bump, my weight started to drop again, and then I hit another plateau. So it's not a straight linear line down with losing weight, like £2 a week. It's down, plateau, up, down, plateau. So it's, as long as the trajectory of that line is going down, you're heading in the right direction. Let's talk about the results. So in those 10 weeks, I went from 208.3 pounds to 188.1, a shade over 20 pound lost in 10 weeks. And the physical changes I can see and feel is that clothes that were too tight now fit properly, and 1 or 2 pairs of jeans are just far too big for us now, and I no longer feel bulky and stuffed. After I've had meals, I look leaner, I look healthier, my face is slimmed down, I've got far less of that puffed out look about us. I think I look fresher and sharper, and there's also that has given us a confidence boost. You know, I can now wear clothes and look, you know, for a man of my age, looking lean is a huge confidence boost. So you feel like you walk taller, you feel stronger. So what now? Well, as I said earlier on, this wasn't a temporary diet. The plan I come up with was designed to be a long-term life strategy of how I'm going to carry on living for the rest of my life. It's important just to get into make these small changes, adopt these small habits for eating smarter, training more regularly, staying consistent, and they're here to stay. And I plan to lose probably another 2 to 3 kilograms. There's no particular time scale for that. I think I'm about 13 stone 6, and even for my height, I think that's still a little bit too heavy. But also as well, I'm loving the weight training. I'm loving the look of being a bit more defined. So I'm going to carry on with that and see where it takes us. So what advice and lessons would I give or pass on to you if you're thinking about going on a bit of a health kick? Well, I would just say, keep it simple. Eat real food, increase the amount of protein that you eat, reduce the amount of carbs that you eat, ditch the bread and the white rice, the devil, but also the junk food. You don't have to eliminate it completely, just drastically reduce all that junk that you're shoving into your mouth. You're basically eating tasty cardboard. It's high in calories, but little or no nutritional value in that, and it's going to do all sorts of damage to your body over time. And if you're tempted to be lured into some magical quick fix plan to lose your weight, whether it's jabs, and I'm not knocking these per se, but if you're going into jabs that are going to cost money, or pills, or looking to go on a waiting list for an operation, unless you've got some sort of obscure medical condition, please don't take that the wrong way, or some faddy diet plan, or some starvation techniques. All of those things are going to work. You're going to lose weight. What I would be concerned about, and there are countless studies to back this up, is that the majority of people who go on these faddy plans, that when it's finished, it isn't a sustainable life plan that you've been choosing. You're going to put the weight back on and some. So this is about just adjusting your lifestyle, eat real food, be consistent, ditch the junk, and exercise. And you cannot fail to lose weight, and don't be disheartened if you seem to plateau or even go up a couple of pounds. Just remember, this is a lifestyle choice that's going to last for the rest of your life. So I hope you found that interesting and informative. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Of course, if you'd like to see more videos like this, if you'd like to see me delve more into what I actually eat, how I prepare meals, gym workouts, etc., more thoughts on this sort of plan, then ask us a question in the comments. Let me know about your experiences down below. Don't forget to subscribe, so that every time I release a new video, you're going to get an instant notification, and it's free. Right, I'm off to the gym. Catch you later.